Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Get Rich 101 slash Fiance Files.
Woo! We in
Fiance
here.
Files.
We're in the house. Good morning, Sacred.
Good morning, Peking. Yeah, so I'm gonna steal with what Melissa said. She said that she doesn't know what we're gonna talk about when the camera comes on. And that's the same thing we do with Fiance Files. We just don't know what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna turn on and see what happens. See what's gonna happen. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to New Thought Media Network. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing us to grow and grow and grow. And thank you for buying my book. Check out my book, Hack Your Pain Now. Hack Your Pain Now.
On Amazon right now. They can still get the ebook as well.
Yeah, they can still get the ebook, the Kindle book, immediately.
Paperback.
Immediately. You have it immediately, and you can have the paperback too. Yeah.
So I have to tell you, Sekou Wright.
Yeah.
Who knew that I would learn so much about you from your book and from your show, Get Rich 101? Like,
oh yeah.
In the beginning, I felt some sort of way. I kind of felt left out, excluded. And then I realized, no, this is an opportunity. I get a bird's eye view because there's no way that you can learn everything and all the things you want to know about a potential mate through dating, having conversations. Like, you really need to be privy to those moments where they're feeling vulnerable or they're feeling transparent. Yeah. Because I think you too learn a lot about me from my show.
a lot about you from your shows. And I never saw her one-woman show. Like, I remember there was one time that I was going to make it. I was driving down from Boston. And I was like, I got here, and I was like going to rest for a minute and then sit back out. But I came in the house. I was like, I don't know if I can make it.
You even bought a ticket. You bought a ticket.
Yeah.
He was going to surprise me.
I was going to roll up, but I couldn't do it. But so anyway, so I haven't seen her show. So she keeps reading snippets. I'm like, what? What? Like, I'm shocked at what's going on in her life. How her life has been. And she's been shocked by how my life has been. I'm like, what do you mean? You don't. And so the funny thing was, my mom sent a Trader Joe's card. And I was like, she was like, where did you get this? Is that old? I was like, no, it was new. My mom just sent me a Trader Joe's card. And she's like, oh, man. She's like, oh, man, your mom giving you all the good stuff. I was like, that's good stuff? That's good stuff? Like, it just didn't occur to me to be thankful, mom. Thankful, mom, for giving me the Trader Joe's card.
Actually, what I said was, you are so spoiled.
Yes.
You are so spoiled. I've said this to Sekou Wright many times. I said, you are so spoiled. And I said to him, I said, I moved out of my mom's house when I was 17.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Right there. I'm like, what?
Had my own apartment.
Once again.
In Denver by myself. My mom lived in Omaha with my sister.
Yeah.
My mom, I told Sekou, I said, my mother never sent or gave me money, a grocery store card, anything. And I remember when I moved out of her house, actually, it was her house in Denver. She moved back to Omaha. So the house was empty. She left me a green velvet chair that had a hole in it. A green velvet chair that had a hole in it. She said, oh, whenever you get your own apartment, you can take this. I was like, so happy. So happy. I was like, thank you, Mama. And it just speaks to the difference in the way that we were raised.
Yeah.
Sekou's an only child, so that's telling. And I think when you're an only
my mom's only child, because I have my half brother.
Yes, for his mom, on his mom's side, he's an only child. Yeah. He is very loved.
Yeah, very loved.
He is very, very loved by his family and his parents. And it makes me feel warm and tingly and jealous.
Yeah.
Warm and tingly and jealous. Just a little jealous.
It's little late jealousy.
Late jealousy.
So anyway, so I thought it was interesting I'm finding it interesting about learning about her from her play. So if you don't know the play is called "Mama Was a Bad Shut Your Mouth."
You forget Mama was a bad mother.
Oh, mother, shut your mouth. Right?
The way he said "shut your mouth" is so cute.
That's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been hearing snippets of it as she's been reading it
Slow down, baby.
slow. I've been I've been experiencing it as she's been reading little pieces in different places, and I just keep being like, what happened? What that happened? And so that's been interesting.
Yeah.
And also you had the opposite experience. Like you read what's the name of my book?
Hack Your
Pain Now.
Mm-hmm.
Hack Your Pain Now. And you read about the girlfriend that I kicked out. And when you read it, I was like, what? And then what happened? Because for me, like these
stories,
these what's it called when you can't remember?
Amnesia.
These amnesia things happen, and they keep on going like this, and so I got interested in knowing what happened, and so it was interesting to me to experiencing it as like a second person, almost like
as an audience member, so I think we ought to back up, because we don't want to assume that people even know what we're talking about. In the morning, we have our spiritual practice.
Yeah, we're getting better.
We're getting better, and we still have some work to do.
Yes.
Especially you.
Yes.
Just throw them under the bus, especially. Yeah. No, really, we in the morning we meditate, transcendental meditation, and then we do a reading. I tend to read because Sekou isn't 100% comfortable with reading, and this way I feel like you also absorb it better.
That's true.
And you retain it. That's and then true. We do a journaling and or say our purpose statement and an affirmation. Our purpose statement.
I've not been doing the journaling. Because, I feel like I'm making up excuses at this point, but I need to type it. And so and so that becomes a little problematic for me.
And I love that you just came up with a solution, which is to type it, because everything else is an excuse. We both know that. I love to read from his book, Hack Your Pain Now, because it's a reminder for him that
of who I was.
And that you prepared yourself for where you are today. He wrote this book before his stroke. Yes. I've read the book, so I thought. However, and I keep saying 10 commandments, but there's actually 11 commandments. When I pick the book up, I just open it, and wherever I land is where I read. Right. Let me tell you, when I saw the words on the page, I wanted to turn because it made me very uncomfortable. But I was committed, and I just said, I'm just going to read it. And I think the second page, he talked about this relationship that he was in where he kicked the woman out. And it brought up a lot of stuff for me, because I was nervous about moving to New York, because I've always been very independent, and I gave up my work for the most part. And I was just like, sometimes you don't really know a person until you know a person. And I've been kicked out many times, not just by a boyfriend, but by a parent, relatives. I mean, several times, to the point where, it was a slight trigger for me.
Yeah.
But I read it, and I realized who he was is not who he is. Who he was.
Well, first of all, let's just point out that you read it like flawlessly, like nothing was wrong. Then you put the book up, and I was like, wow. I was caught because my amnesia. I was like, what? That happened? I'm still trying to get into it. Like,
that dude kicked her out.
I know. And she was just like, okay, let's go run. I was like, okay.
And then I talked about it on my show because there was a parallel story to it.
Right.
What I realized, though, is it was no longer a trigger for me because I've healed that. And I find that when you are still living in the past and when you're still allowing the past to dictate your decisions, then it's an opportunity for you to heal. I realized that before I moved here, but I had no idea before I moved that he had been in a relationship ever. Because let me just say, I've known Sekou Wrights for 20 plus years.
Long time.
I've never known him to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
His nickname is Secret Squirrel.
I don't know who came with that nickname.
I did. Secret Squirrel. And everyone who knows him is like, yes, he's very private.
I was like, what y'all talk about?
Yeah. So the fact that he had a girlfriend that lived with him and then he kicked her out. I was
and wrote about it in the book.
And wrote about it in the book. I was
published it in book, and it gave to the world. The world, yeah.
So a lot of the things that you're learning about Sekou Wrights, I'm learning about him at the same time. And I guess my point is, because after I talked about it on my show, he said, let's come here. He said, Sophie, let's talk. And I was like, oh, shoot. So we have a whole after the show.
Yeah.
After my show, we have an after the show.
Yeah.
When I reveal things. And he said, I'll never kick you out. And I said, thank you for that, Sekou. But I'm not fearful of that at all. Like, I don't think about it. I'm not walking around on eggshells at all. And I know what that's like. And for my women and men out there who have been in relationships where you're walking on eggshells, that is not a healthy relationship to be in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't even know how to qualify it, but it's like it's like having things up under your blanket that have been smoothed out. Like the blanket has been smoothed out, right? And the things under the blanket don't exist anymore. And so the blanket is smooth. It looks the same, but it's smooth. It doesn't have any bubbles up under it. Does that make sense?
It does. That's an interesting analogy. I think what you're saying is, because you are no longer that person, you're not attached to what you've written in that way, because you've done the work, you've smoothed yourself out.
Yeah, like I've been smoothed out aggressively by the powers of the world. It gave me the stroke and cleared out everything. I just cleared out everything of the past and just kind of like left it undone. Like, you know what I mean?
I think the power of the universe, not the world. I think when you said the power of the world, I think it's the power of the universe that gave you the stroke. Yeah. I love how you said gave you the stroke, as if it's a gift, and I think that's a healthy way to look at it. We talked about this.
Hard way to look at it sometimes, but yes, we talked about it.
Yeah, because
you said that you were grateful for the stroke.
I'm grateful for his stroke because while I've known Sekou a long time, I never really knew him. Right? You have these relationships. My friend Fatima West and I talk about this, how whether it's a sibling or your children, like how I would love to like really have gotten to know my mom. Many of us only get the surface. People really only want you to know what they want you to know. It's not until you have a tragic occurrence or you write a book or like something has to force you to reveal who you really are. That happened for you with the stroke. However, I noticed a shift in you during COVID. I noticed you were different. The little bit I knew about him, I was like, wow, Sekou's running?
Wow. Yeah, because the running was brand new to me. Yeah.
And he lost 50 pounds. This is the thing that you don't talk about enough. Yeah. Like he lost 5-0. He lost a baby, a whole baby.
Whole baby. That's
funny. He lost a whole baby, like a whole toddler. And he stopped drinking. So one of my things is I don't date men who drink. And it's not something that I would talk about. You know, it was no big deal. It was just an internal thing. I was like, I don't shucks, he has triplets, girl. Fatima said you lost triplets. You lost triplets. Oh my gosh, right? So he lost 50 pounds. He stopped drinking. This was before the stroke. And that's why I know that he himself and for the stroke.
Mm.
Became vegan, not the healthiest vegan. Let's just keep it real.
Rude, rude, rude.
Sorry, but he stopped eating meat, and you were doing the work and learning and sharing about money.
Yeah.
He was in this gratitude group that he invited me into, which gave me an opportunity to know more about him.
Yeah.
And I was like, Sekou is such a dope guy. I was trying to introduce him to people, like other, women that I knew were single, because I thought, he's my friend, he's my boy. Like, but he should have a good woman in his life. And that's me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm distracted by the quotes coming in because I'm looking at all the quotes. The team is saying she doesn't date men who do drugs or drink, right?
Yeah, it's a real thing because you get to choose. Like, some people do and are okay with it. It's fine. We're all different. It's just I knew my triggers and my sensitivity to alcohol, and I was like, I'm not good. What Fatima said, trying to give away the dopest dude, girl. You have no idea. Like,
I was like, why is she trying to hook me up with people? Why is she trying to? All right.
See, because my level of awareness was way down here. I was just like, Sekou's such a great guy, and I just I didn't see him being a great guy for me because he was my friend, and I didn't want to ruin the friendship.
Yeah.
And my friend Dwayne Barnes said, Fee, I think you're looking at this all wrong. He said, I think you're looking. Yeah, he did. He said, I think you're looking at this all wrong. You're concerned about losing versus gaining. Like, I think your soulmate has been right in front of your eyes all this time. I was like, I've wasted so many years, so many years. And then I thought, nope,
no,
everything is in divine order. You weren't even ready for him.
Yeah, because I remember I was inviting you to the Morrison Golf Classic. So it's my family's golf tournament, and I was telling her about the liquor. I was telling her like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be right.
Yeah, we're gonna be popping in.
It's gonna bottles popping, and I didn't understand why you didn't come, but I was like, it's party for me, right? And then to find out now that I've stopped drinking, that's a thing for her. Like, that alone is a big deal about how and when we came together.
Yeah, and how the universe had a very specific plan, because I know that God was working on you, and God was working on me, because I too was not who I am today, and I know that I wouldn't have been good for him. I would not have been good for you. Even the way that we communicate. Like, what I love about Sekou is I can say something as simple as, what I love about you, Sekou writes, is I can say something as simple as, babe, can you not put your tissue down there? And he'll just say, okay. Y'all, come on now. For my married folks out there, my folks in a relationship, my folks who have children, how many times have you asked your partner to not do something and you get a lot of back talk, a lot of resistance, a lot of and stop nagging? He never does that.
Okay, I think I get what I was trying to say. It's like you develop things underneath the blanket because you got blankets of life, right? But I have become on 2 years ago, July 14th, 2022.
Hasn't even been 2 years yet.
Like, it brought me down to zero blankets, and now I'm just barely getting the blankets. But now everything is gone. Everything that was there is gone. So my secret squirrel nest has completely evaporated. Like, it's completely gone. And so now I'm talking all the time about what I'm doing, what I'm, and so I haven't even gotten to the point where I would have developed secret squirrel nest yet. You know what I mean? And so I'm finding out like, hey, I don't like that. I don't like dealing with things in Secret Squirrel anymore.
Oh, secret squirrelness. I think that's a book because that makes sense. Sekou, in the past, you were very what I would call enigmatic, mysterious. For me, he reminded me of the Black George Clooney. He was the Black George Clooney. So I thought, and here's what's interesting, is you can present yourself in a way where people don't really know who you are, but you're mysterious. And so they make assumptions. I always thought that Sekou was the what they call George Clooney the consummate single man. He's the guy for a long time, and George Clooney was the guy who, like you and me, he had a lot of near misses. He booked a ton of what do you call them? Series pilots. Golly, George Clooney booked a ton of pilots that never went anywhere, and so he came so close, but it was like it just kept slipping from his grips. Sekou's had those experiences many times, being in the room with the people and so close to selling a book and it being turned into a film, just so many times. And I was like, and you never saw George Clooney like in a relationship. He was dating people. I never saw Sekou in a relationship. So I was just like, he's just flying all over the country, single, living his greatest life. And then one day I asked you something, and he's like, people always ask me those questions. He used to be a little arrogant, And he said, I'm actually very loyal.
Yeah. I was surprised that people would ask me that. So it wasn't being what do you just call it?
The consummate singles man?
No, the negative thing you just said.
Arrogant.
So it wasn't that. It was like, why do people ask me this? Why I didn't understand why
it was your persona. That's it. We were talking about persona last night.
Oh yeah.
In our book study group. We're studying the book Big Leap.
Yeah.
That was it. That's what we have to talk about. So it's a persona that either you create or people create it and put it on you.
Yes, ascribe it to you.
Yeah. And his persona was a ladies' man. That's it.
Which was prescribed to me, but wasn't me.
But you kind of wore it well, even though it was prescribed. Like you took that medicine, because it was just the image that you created, and because you weren't transparent and vulnerable like you are now.
Yeah,
it made sense, and so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Fatima's getting a laugh at the Secret Squirrel. She's laughing. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, she's laughing at the Secret Squirrel.
She said she's about to tag her husband, Rich. Yeah, the persona Fatima blew our minds, because what we're learning in our book study group, it's the name of the book is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, is as young people, whether it occurred to you as maybe a toddler or in your grade school years or maybe junior high, we all put on these masks to help us cope or survive our environment. Basically, you're being someone that you really aren't because you don't know yourself. And so this author calls it a persona, but some people will call it a mask. And I realized that is the persona that was prescribed to Sekou. Last night in our group, he shared that your persona of being a secret squirrel is not who he was. He's like, that's not who I am. But it was prescribed to him. So I don't know what.
But it was me. It was me, though, because I found out via you, via Reverend Mal, and other people have said, yes, Sekou, you really didn't tell us thus and so. And so that's been interesting for me, because I've been like letting it all hang out, like just
it all
let it all hang out, and that's challenging for me in terms of the difference between who I was then and who I am now. Like that's really very different.
Yes.
And I feel it's good though.
There's a quote by Brene Brown, who is she's a researcher, and I guess now she's a thought leader. She's an author. She's a speaker. She is powerful. Brene Brown. She says, people think being vulnerable, and I'm paraphrasing, vulnerable and transparent is a sign of weakness, when really your strength and your power lies in your ability to be vulnerable and transparent. And since you become this way, I find you far, far more sexy, far more attractive, far more interesting and strong.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But yeah, because I'm laughing at
are you blushing?
No, I'm laughing at Reverend Mel, who said something similar. She was like, I don't know, I don't forget what she called me, but she called me something, and she was like, "Yeah, you're whatever it was," and I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Yeah, because you do so much more of that than you did before of telling the."
Being vulnerable, being transparent,
yeah, being vulnerable,
open.
Being vulnerable.
Yeah. You, I mean, I think if we just took photos from up to 2022, up to your stroke, if we just did a collage of photos for Sekou Wright's life, you'll see. And even when you talk about things, like some of your stuff was subliminal in your writing. Like he has a book. I want to say it's your first book, When Butterflies Kiss.
First book.
Like you'll insert things in your characters that I think are really you and maybe how you think, but you would never say it. Sekou, let me tell you something. Sekou would go around and interview mainly women about their worst dates.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I did do that. Yes, I did.
Because he did it with me. He was like, "Fee, what was your worst date?" And that was it. He would have little to no commentary on it. He would just listen. You're a great listener. He would listen, and that was it. But he would never share much about his. You did share a little, but when I say surface, it was surface. It was surface. It's like, I've known Sekou. I've known you for 20 years, and I've never known you to be in a date, in a relationship. The first time I found out he had a girlfriend back in the day was when we were doing his first marathon. We were working with a publicist who's a friend of his, who was helping us to get his press release out because he was vying for a Guinness World Record. First time for the person who raises the most monies during a marathon.
Yep.
After we finished, we came so close. So he came so close.
So close.
She and I were talking. He was getting some food, I think. And she was talking about a press trip where she met Sekou. She had known him, but she had not known him very well. But she was at this press trip with him and his girlfriend. And so, I'm all interested. I was like, really? She was like, yeah. She said he had a girlfriend, and she was very nice, very pretty woman. She said, but something, I don't know, something was going on with them. Like I got the feeling that they were going to break up.
Wow.
And I was like, the fact that I said, I've never seen pictures on social media of Sekou with a girlfriend, because there were always so many pictures of you with so many women. So I was like, well, but you thought the same thing about me. You said, Fee, there's always some man in the background.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you only think there was.
Well, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. But we're out of time. We're out of time. I was waiting for you to finish so I could say we're out of time. We're out of time today. We'll be back next week.
Yes.
Next week, Thursday. And we'll be talking more about, who knows? I was actually going to talk about some money stuff. So, we talk about whatever we talk about. Yeah, whatever we want to talk about. So
this was great.
This was fun.
Yes.
And what you want to say?
I want to say thank you for creating Fiance Files. Thank you for inviting me into your world. Thank you for helping me to love you in a different way.
Ashe.
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 Hey.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
Peace.